And we're back in the room.
Back in the room with the hat.
And Paul's got his magic hat on.
Yeah. I like hats. I like wearing hats. They make me I find them quite like elevating. They make me like if I'm in a bad mood or because I could switch up my mood by putting a hat on.
Get ahead, get a hat.
You get a head, get a hat. Paul, chronologically, get the head first, then the hat.
Yes.
Well, you could get the hat first and then the head, but better the head first. Nice.
Get ahead, get a hat. All right. So this podcast is really about, I think, it's the journey from it's that 1 year mark from when. So what can you expect after a year after being diagnosed?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
What milestones have we passed along the way from in that 1 year mark, which is mostly going to be about your experience because you are 1 year in.
Past the mark. I've just passed that mark. Yeah. That milestone.
Which is so yeah. So let's crack on. And with that, my camera's bouncing up and down. Let's say welcome to ADHDville.
I call it something else more difficult than I could ever have expected.
It's a year on.
Hello, I'm Paul Thompson. I was diagnosed with the combined ADHD, almost exactly, more or less, getting on for just past actually a year ago.
And I'm Martin West, and I was diagnosed with the combined poo-poo platter of ADHD in 2013. Indeed.
So we just here as kind of two mates who, by coincidence or not in brackets, after 39 years of friendship, discovered that we're co-ADHDers. Hurrah! Now, it's really important to say this is an entertainment podcast about adult ADHD. It does not substitute for individualized advice from qualified health professionals.
No.
Always the most difficult. I always need to take a run up to say that bit. So don't take any advice from us, especially me. We're just kind of here as an all-inclusive ADHD park bench with room for everyone even, including your doppelgangers, your alter egos, your buddy doubles, your chaperones, and your best buddies. Still here.
Best buddies. Yes.
Still here. Well, Martin is. Yes. I'm still here. Then grab your jetpacks, your pedalos, your space hoppers, or any other transportation methods, and let us take you to ADHDville, an elementary town we've created in our minds, where we like to explore different parts of the A, the D, the H, and the D.
In our minds.
Waiting for the echo.
Yeah, that was it. And we start off, as always, here at the town hall in the mayor's office, where we, the joint mayors of ADHDville, take care of business. And this week, just looking at my agenda, we're going to be talking about this 1 year on, what that journey can be like, and what it's been like for Paul. And I'm going to be chipping in because that was a long time ago for me, but no doubt I will remember. So let's go to the coffee.
Oh, okay. Let's go to the coffee shop. Yeah. Let's get
Yeah. Because I know that in the script here it says let's head down to the basement.
But that's from the last episode.
Yeah, and I don't have the basement file loaded. So let's jump up in the mayor's cab, and we'll go to the coffee place.
Okay.
Blang, blang, blang. This was all done on a computer. I never played that guitar.
So I'm going to get them in this time. What are you having, Martin?
I'm going to have a decaf cafe au lait.
Cafe au lait. Okay, I think I'm just going to get
I think it's Spanish,
tisana,
isn't
an
it?
infusion. I'm going to get a lemon. It's my go-to infusion. It's lemon and ginger, Martin.
Oh, I love a bit of lemon and ginger. I
Yeah,
will sometimes have a lemon ginger tea.
yeah. I make it
That's
myself as well. Just chop a lemon and a bit of ginger, and boil it up. It's the best ever.
oh wow,
It's lovely, cheap as well.
okay,
Anyway,
that's nice, dear.
So we're at the coffee shop, aren't we, Martin? So we're going to talk
Yes,
about the first 12 days. Holy moly, this was quite hard to talk,
months.
hard to write about. Can I just point that out?
All right.
It was
Okay.
there's a lot to unpack.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get unpacking then.
Let's get
Let's
unpacking.
start at the start.
Let's start. Okay. So okay. Well, I mean, there is actually a point. My girlfriend was asking me because we've started thinking that she's on the autism spectrum, right? My girlfriend. And
Oh,
so she said to me, "Oh, well, what happens when you go for the diagnosis, and how can you be sure that the person that's giving the diagnosis is up to the responsibility, has
yeah.
got the right skills to do a proper diagnosis?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, my response was really, by the time you've got to that point, you've already got like your square pegs already hovering over the square holes.
In theory, yes.
It's not going to be that many surprises. Most people have done, especially if you've had to wait for the diagnosis. Most people have like read up on it. You've followed our podcast.
Absolutely. That is like in
Right.
the criteria. Like,
Yeah.
have you listened to the ADHD podcast? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Tick in that box. They give you an
Next.
extra fat marker for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like you're coming at it like something new, and especially if you're really late diagnosed like us, it's like everything kind of makes sense already. It's like, okay,
Right.
even however
Yeah.
little research you've done, it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
But
It
I
all kind
would
of
say
resonates.
that it does, like, you could go to 10 people and you wouldn't necessarily get the same result out of all 10.
No.
Like, because some of those questions in the in the in the in the criteria are kind of they're somewhat open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's if you get someone who is not really on the ball, then they could give you a they could
Yeah.
do you wrong, because actually some of those questions are actually quite, you might answer them in the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite common. I think one of the questions is like, do you collect things around a category? So, and it says like, trains, planes,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, rocks or something. And then you kind of go, yeah, no, I don't collect planes or trains or rocks. So you go, no, I don't really collect things.
Mm-hmm.
But actually what you do is you collect information about, I don't know, a certain topic, right?
Yeah.
And you just have to hope that that whoever's doing the nosing kind of understands.
They can interpret.
Yes, can interpret your wrong answer.
Yeah.
Because you might just go
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
and that person might go, oh no, okay, they don't
Mm.
show that behavior, so
Yeah. Yeah.
they are
Yeah,
not.
it's like, are you always late for appointments? No, I'm not. I'm always on time because I'm a people pleaser. So that kind of like merges in with appointment keeping.
Right.
So, which is, I'm
Yeah.
like, or do you have trouble sleeping? No.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
So yes, if you get a bad person, yes, you will get a bad result. So
Yeah.
I know that at least.
Yeah.
Go on, Mr. Thompson.
No, I
After
think if you
you.
can afford to go private, I think generally what I've heard is private. If you can afford to go private, if you're lucky enough to afford
Right.
that, it is generally better.
Yeah.
Generally.
All right. So, so we're right at the beginning. We're on the diagnosis part of this
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, and my experience was like, yeah, diagnosis. It was a bit of a shit show, if I'm honest. It was a bit of a joke. In it, I live here in Italy. If you haven't listened to our podcast up to now, go back and listen. I think it was the first podcast. It was about my
Episode
diagnosis.
1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was terrible. It was really, really bad. I mean, if I'd sent my son to the same department of the hospital I went to, I'd be spitting blood. I'd be really angry with how
Mm-hmm.
bad and irresponsible they were. They're just really blasé about it and mechanical. Yeah, it was terrible. But from my point of view, because I was diagnosed at I was 56, 56 at that time. Everything kind of resonated. I only needed confirmation, but it did make a difference. Being diagnosed, having that stupid rubber stamp saying, "Okay, he's both both attention deficit and hyperactive disorder." So it's both ends of the AD and the H and the D. And then off I went into the world, carrying this new kind of like, I guess what I call it, I started just right from the word go, like reframing everything I'd freaking learned from that point, in my history. Everything had to be reframed. And in the beginning, it felt like a new toy, like a kid with a new toy, and everything was great. And it was like, woo, is exciting and stimulating, obviously.
Yeah, because when you get that diagnosis, there is a period actually which is quite intense at the start, isn't it? Where you are where you are suddenly finding answers to all of the stuff in your life, like, oh, that explains why I'm always late. Oh, that explains why I struggle holding down a job or whatever it is. And so all these answers kind of start coming at you. And you think, yeah, this is okay. Yeah.
And at the end, actually, at the end of this thing, I've actually got talking about reframing. I've actually got a list of like 9 or 10 things in pretty much in order of priority up until the first one, in order of priority, what actually I reframed in the last year that I'll run through really quickly at the end of this. Yeah. But yeah, it did feel like validation and acceptance right from the start, which was all really great. And yeah, I did have this like first 3 months kid with a new toy. Then after that, after about 3 months, it started to like really, I was exhausted and overwhelmed. Just how much stuff there was to like relearn, as I call it.
You mean like you
and
kind
just,
of realized
and I remember we were doing a
where you
podcast,
were,
we just started the podcast, and then we did a lot of stuff on the TikTok, and at one point I just had to like get off the ADHD ride for 2 or 3 weeks, because all I was doing is my head was just full of that, you know.
Yeah. Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. And then that's what another aspect of it was, because I tended to, and in this case as well, when I've got confronted with a challenge, I tend to like close up a bit and like shut up shop.
Oh.
And I wasn't very communicative about it. And it's like my girlfriend was like feeling a bit left out, which is another aspect. It was quite common, I think, when your partner is feeling like, oh, Paul, what's going on? What's going on after your diagnosis? And that's something that I'm only coming to terms with now, actually, getting better at helping her to help me, which is really, really cool. Really important part.
Right.
but yeah, just so much stuff to unpack. But here's the thing. I thought at the beginning, I'm not sure how you felt, Martin. I know for you it
Mhm.
was 13 years ago, but
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I'd be able to do this without a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Actually, looking back, reflecting now, I wish I'd I'd taken a psychologist along for the ride on that in that phase. Even though I
Right.
thought I could do it myself, I think I could have done with someone else. It's like, Paul, okay, but not,
Hmm.
finding the right one, but someone who actually
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
knew,
Yeah.
had experience with other patients, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Of what it's like to go through that
Yeah.
reframing and relearning. 'Cause
And
it's a
then,
lot, right?
yep. I would actually point out at this point it's quite common to start meds, right?
Yes.
Or to at least start with supplements or something like
Mhm.
But I know that I got on Vyvanse or Elvance quite
Yeah.
quickly, so I kind of jumped on that, and that was a weird, fun, strange experience. Just kind of like
Mhm.
trying that out and seeing how that all
Yeah.
worked. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of
And
stuff going
I
on in
tried.
that period.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And I found that I couldn't find anything that worked for me, and I'd stopped. I think after about 3 months, I stopped with everything. And then because it was a state, I was working with a state psychologist, a psychiatrist rather, and he said, "Okay, well, I can't." He then said, "I can't help you out anymore. You need to go and see someone private." He basically
Right.
said, "Okay, you're on your own now." Okay, oh,
Hmm.
thanks. Okay, which I
Yeah.
haven't done yet. I'm just like playing with the idea at the moment. With it's okay for the moment that I
Money,
don't.
money, money.
Yeah.
Must be funny.
Um, but then that's the thing, isn't it? Talking about money, money, money. Psychologists for a lot of people actually is something a luxury a lot of people can't afford, let alone finding a good one.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's expensive for a lot
This
of
is all
people.
stuff of a privilege. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
especially if you want a good one. It's like the good ones. They cost money for a very good reason because they're damn good.
Damn good.
Um, and
All right.
effective. So
What's
yeah, that was
what's
so yeah.
what's next on your travels of a year into
Next on my
ADHD?
travels is go back to the thing about helping people to help you. So I was actually listening to a podcast last night with Dr. Ned Hallowell, who was like one of the top experts in the States on ADHD, and he said something really, really, really interesting. It really resonated for me. He said, "You ADHDers, and he has ADHD. ADHD will always work better when you're connected with people." Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, for example, I was feeling like, I don't know, a bit overwhelmed at times. I like went into my own shell. I kind of shut up shop a bit and was like feeling a bit overprotective about, vulnerable even at this stage. And he was saying, it it's always better to get actually more connected maybe than you ever have been in reality. It never
Yeah.
pays to disconnect with
No.
your immediate family, your partner, or your wider kind of friend, group of friends or family, and that
Yeah.
really resonated for me. And I've only started to like get better at bringing my partner especially into it and to like help her to help me, because you'd never assume it. You'd never assume, oh, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, you've got to fight for my corner. Well, you've got to give them a reason. It's, they've
Right.
got to like, it's not like, oh, just assume that they're going to do that. You've got to like help them to help you, because it's not
Oh
easy.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like my point, as I've said it before, is if you have a partner and it's and it's a long term partner,
Mhm.
you will change as
Yeah.
time goes on, right? you won't ever be the same person that you met. So that means that your partner or yourself has to change with the other person. So if they start going off in one direction, say they get an ADHD diagnosis, it's also your responsibility as a partner to follow that journey, because if you don't, that's where you split up. That's the start of like where you divide. So
especially if you go through a phase of being a bit overwhelmed with the amount of unpacking you have to do. My girlfriend, I think, at times felt like she was, sidelined a bit. So it's not easy at all. It's really not easy, and it's hard for us to understand. But I had a conversation with my girlfriend, for instance. She said, I said, have you not read up about ADHD? Have you done any research? She said, I don't have to because I've got you. Which to my response was, yeah, I get that, but I've got so much that I need to learn. It would be really helpful if you did, you don't have to dedicate 24/7 to it, but it helps because I can't do it all myself. I can't do all the learning myself. And she's got really good at it, actually.
All right.
Recognizes certain situations, when I'm tired, and start to make allowances for okay, is this Paul, because he's tired and irritable, or is there something else going on? Just more nuance, the kind of level of communication and understanding.
Yep.
So then I've got I've got the conclusion, but I've got in order of chronological order. Okay, what I've reframed and relearned. Okay, leading up to the big one. Okay, so basically I relearned about my eating habits. Easy one, straight off the bat. Why I had struggles with with my certain textures of food, consistencies of food. That's the easy one. Two, I've got shame with so I reframed my shame that I perceived laziness that I shamed myself with. Okay. Okay. Three, noise pollution. Completely reframed that. I just a lot of shame involved with that. It completely changed the way I thought about how irritable I became about noise pollution. Underachieving at school, number four. Underachieving at school, really reframed that. That sense of, okay, if I could tap myself on the shoulder now, what would I say to myself? I'd say, Paul, you're not stupid. You're actually intelligent, but not in intelligence that maybe the school wants you to be intelligent, etc. Underachieving in my profession, number 5. 6, why I like spending time alone. Okay. 7, partner choosing decisions, respecting my own personal needs, listening to myself, and allowing those thoughts to be properly considered. So whole thing about the people that you decide to share your life with, that was reframed. So get into quite big stuff now, right? 8, why I always felt like an alien. Okay, classic. Okay.
Yeah.
9, being misunderstood. Okay. 10, self-sabotage. This is a massive one. That's been a massive one. Seeing this trail of freaking mess that I left behind me, that it's totally that I burned bridges and created so much mess in my past. Totally reframed that. And last but not least, the big one, number 11. It's written down here. Who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you, Paul? If Paul is really your name.
If it's real, so unlock your masking to unlock your authenticity, your true self. I mean, how can you possibly, before diagnosis, discover who you really are? How can you be authentic if you haven't been already diagnosed with ADHD? That's this biggest one of all of them, probably.
Yeah.
So
I would say there's gonna be some people hopping them down, because I know because they'll be saying some of those are quite autistic rather than ADHD. So I am not gonna unpick those, but just to kind of note that like some of those
Yeah,
are
but there's some
sitting
of
in
them.
that kind of Venn diagram of the two.
Exactly. I was just about to say, so many of them overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't, that's been part of this last year as well. Like gradually, slowly but surely realizing, okay, autism.
Well, what else have I got?
What else have I
Comorbidities.
got?
I don't like the word
It's like 85%
morbidities.
of people, 85%. There's a number, Martin. There's a number. There's a
Yeah,
percent. 85% of people that have ADHD have some kind of autistic trait spectrum
right.
deal going on, gig.
Yeah, yeah. There's, I
Big
mean, I would say
numbers.
there's probably 100% likelihood you've got something else going on.
Yeah.
Like you just get that kind of ADHD thing going on. You kind of go, okay, well that explains a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't explain another bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you start digging around. It's like, oh, I've got rejection sensitivity disorder. I've got anxiety. I've got depression.
Yeah.
I've got autism. I've got dyslexia, or
Right.
numbers thing. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that fun friends. ADHD has got
Tons.
some fun friends that it comes along with quite often,
Yeah.
and you end up
It's
having a period of working it out.
yeah.
You're
It's
a
been a
puzzle.
roller coaster, Martin. It's been a roller coaster. Bear in mind, and I don't like roller coasters. I hate fairgrounds. Do you like fairgrounds, Martin?
I
Big
they
question, I
are
know. Tricky one.
they are I do I get excited if we're going to go to a fairground. I get excited about going.
Right.
I get excited wandering around. It's almost like if I could just walk around a fairground, that would be enough. That would be okay.
Right.
If I never went on a ride, I'd be all right with
Yeah.
that.
I'm exactly the same.
Right.
I'm exactly the same. Yeah,
Hmm.
totally. I
I
can't
have
go
been
round and
on.
round because of
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
feel
But
ill.
it's been hard. It's been really, really hard. But here's the thing, and I know this is one of the most overused expressions out there. It has been totally and utterly life changing.
All right. Yes.
Totally and utter life changing. Just like wow.
Mm-hmm.
At times, mostly highly stimulating and really exciting, and sometimes joyful and marvelous and amazing. Sometimes not. But
Sometimes
for the
not.
most, it's been definitely. I know everyone says, "Oh, it's a." I hate that expression, game changer. Oh God, I hate that expression, but that's just me. It's been life changing, totally life changing for me, and it's been really profound the
Yeah.
last 12 months.
I always think of it as like, like you're kind of half blind almost, right? You've got really blurry vision, and then someone puts some glasses on your face, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
oh,
was blind and now I can
oh,
see.
oh, Jesus,
Yeah,
is that what the world looks like, really?
yeah.
Um,
Well, do you remember at our college on the first day? I think it was at our college. I think it was Sheila, one of our professors of there was
yeah,
of the college, our college. She said, "We're going to make you see with new eyes."
new eyes, and here they are,
I
and she
love that
handed out a
expression.
bunch of new eyes,
She
and we're like,
handed out a bunch of new eyes, sometimes in pairs.
yeah, yeah, I got some blue ones, lovely blue ones, thank you.
Yeah, David Bowie was at the back of the queue. He got odd coloured eyes.
Yeah, I know, yeah, but he turned lemons into lemonade and made it a thing.
Yes, yes.
Um,
We could be heroes just for one day, making
yeah,
lemonade.
making lemonade. Yeah, that was his famous song, making the lemonade.
David Bell was surely ADHD. When he wrote Heroes, he had a studio full of musicians, session musicians that had rocked up,
Yeah.
ready to go. Right, he hadn't
Yeah.
written a song yet. He left it
Yeah.
until the last minute, and like everyone was getting nervous. It's like, come on, we've got these guys in there waiting.
Yeah.
And
Some of
he
these.
went into the next room, looking over the Brandenburg Gate because he was in Berlin at the time, and
All
he came
right.
up with this thing about heroes.
Yeah.
Boom,
Genius.
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 So
Nice.
what about? Can you remember, Martin? It was like, did you get like
Well,
overwhelmingness?
I'm. Yeah. I mean, my general journey was yeah, after the nurse is like, ooh, let's try these pills. Ooh, oh,
Right,
these seem to work, but I have to take them at a different time. Oh, if I drink coffee, this is really bad. Let's not
right.
do that.
Haribo.
And
Don't
then
mix it with Haribo. In my case,
right, and then it's like, okay, right, well, I have to make these lifestyle changes. Yeah, and then it was really about sort of adjusting and adjusting. And then there's that whole long period of as you say, you just reassess
mm,
your life through these new eyes my new
yeah.
ADHD eyes.
Mm.
And
But
then
your wife had already been diagnosed by that time?
no, no, no,
Before,
no.
if she was after you?
She hasn't been
Oh,
diagnosed,
okay.
but she definitely has ADHD ness going on. But interestingly, it's a different ADHD flavor
Right,
to mine, and I think that's
right.
how it works in the end. Is because
Mhm.
we are not the same. We are both neurodivergent,
Right.
but not the same
Yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
that actually, I am better at um, having like if the situation changes and there's a curveball and we have to change plans, we have to do something else. I am
Mhm.
better at that, whereas she's better at the longer term
Yeah.
planning. So she'll plan out
Right.
stuff in the future, whereas and then if it goes wrong, I'm better at that part. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's quite
I'm
in.
personally convinced, like, 20 years' time, ADHD will splinter off into different descriptions, different hopefully, because
Who
that would
knows,
mean that they've done a shed load more research and realized actually,
right?
because everyone's really different, right? I mean, I've just described my year, but that's just mine, you know.
Hmm. Although
Unfortunately, I
I do
couldn't
have.
find meds that worked, for instance, not yet
Right.
anyway.
Yeah. Um, so a year on, I have a bunch of I've got about 6 kind of points. I think that is a general list of so if you were diagnosed a year ago, where should you roughly be? Not where should you be? That's the wrong thing to say. But here are some common
Where might you
places
be?
that people find themselves. So number one is and we'd have touched on all of these. So number one,
Yeah.
a a a, a greater self-understanding and acceptance. So you've been with
Mm-hmm.
yourself for a year. You've kind of gone, okay, well, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, you at some point you kind of go, okay, right, well, this is me. This is how my brain works. It's always going to be
Mm.
this way. Let's see
Right.
if I can work with it rather than fighting against
Mm.
your ADHD or your
Yeah.
which is what you've probably been doing for most
Mm-hmm.
of your life, trying to fight against it. You
Yeah.
kind of go, okay, let's go with it, and let's see
Yeah.
if I
And
can
be really hard on
make it work.
yourself, really severe.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not
Um,
necessarily something to fix, it's something to adjust.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
And a year on, there is often a strong sense of relief knowing it's not just a lack of effort or you've got a personality flaw. That it's actually
Yeah.
just, as you say, how your brain works. Number two is medication, medication adjustments, lifestyle tweaks, supplements, maybe. So if you have been taking meds, a year down the line, you probably like tried this and that and different doses and gone up and down, and you're probably finding like roughly where your
Then that's
sweet
the
spot
thing. The
is.
supplements. There's one thing. There's a massive element actually that I hadn't mentioned. There's so much bad advice out there, or there's a lot of inaccurate advice. There's also on another level, there's also a lot of people selling supplements that don't actually work because they're just trying to make money out of the ADHD community. There are
Yeah,
some supplements that do work, but there's a lot of stuff that is really hard sometimes to actually find the kind of information that is actually really really useful.
yeah, I know,
Yeah,
and
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 pragmatic.
you'll get contradictory things. So, like one thing that
Oh
keeps
God,
coming up
yeah.
is L-theanine. I think that's his name. Whereas if you dig into the research, it will say that it's based on a on an 80s an 80s study that actually doesn't really conclude that L-theanine does much. Like it's quite hard to actually kind of scientifically prove that it does anything. But you'll have some people say, yeah, no, it didn't do anything for me. And then you'll have some people who kind of say, yeah, it was a complete game changer. Now, how much of that is,
Yeah,
um,
placebo effect.
how much of that is placebo and how much of that is accurate? Well, the thing is, you have to do your own research and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, lifestyle tweaks, things that help you with the ADHD and stuff that make it worse. So,
Exercise.
as I said, yeah. So exercise, getting out, doing physical things is always good. Eating better is
Yeah.
always good if you can. I mean, like there's so much that you end up kind of changing about yourself to kind of try and make yourself, to try and keep those ADHD symptoms down and
Yeah.
as much as
But there's
you
so, as I
can.
said before, there's so much. I came across something last week that really irritated the heck out of me. There's someone was saying, I think it was a TikTok, was saying to ADHDers, learn these things by the end of 2024 if you want to improve your ADHD problems. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, God's sake. There is so much stuff out there. It's not like 30 years ago when it was like clearly, clear kind of places you would go to get informed about stuff, people or a library or something like that. Now there's just so much information out there. It's really
Hmm.
hard to know what to filter, how to filter it all.
Yeah, that's basically how civilization was. It was all about trying to acquire and find information, and now since the internet, it's more about how do you filter
Yeah,
all the information out there. How do you filter it? And
yeah.
that's the skill. So number three in the things that you should see have changed after a year is shifts in relationships and communication, which we've talked about. So many people notice in their relationship
Mm,
they actually communicate better with friends and family and colleagues about their
totally.
ADHD,
Mm. I
which
found, for instance, because I
helps.
started teaching 4 months after I got diagnosis, and you'd think teaching would be the worst job in the world for me, like 400 students to teach in every week. I found it really helps me. I found that I
Nice.
look at people in a different way, and less kind of scared of it, and anxious about it. Actually, taking more joy out of that. It's just, I think that's been thanks to post diagnosis. And just to look
Right.
at, I don't know, approach things a different way. I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because we get better about setting boundaries as well
Yeah.
around time. Explaining certain things could be more of a challenge. Having
Hmm.
more open conversations just kind of like, yeah. So
And
all,
probably
all of
not
those.
losing energy either from, being critical with ourselves. The inner
Mm,
critic, letting that go. That's that's a lot of energy to save yourselves.
absolutely. Number 4 is ups and downs with confidence and identity. So, after a year, your strengths better,
Hmm.
your weaknesses better, um, and that you accept that your self-esteem and your energy, as you say, can go like up and down, right? That you
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
well, I'm having a bad week, I'm having a bad day, but I know that that's not, I won't be stuck here necessarily.
yeah,
Like I might be better tomorrow, next week, or whatever. Like
yeah, yeah.
you accept that it's a that it is more up and down, right? And
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and
It's like
also
talking of up and down. I've like kind of let go of. Well, I did it before my diagnosis actually, but I personally let go of this concept of happiness. I'm right very very often in my personal life. I'm really okay with just being okay, and as in terms
oh
of like
yeah,
a measurement, that's like more than enough for me.
mm-hmm. Nice. I like that.
Nice.
I'm okay with being okay. Yeah, and also at that point, a year on, you stop comparing yourself to normal people, like, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you stop that
That's a lot to.
comparison.
Yeah. That's a lot to let go of.
It is. That's a big chunky lump of stuff.
That's huge amount of brain energy, right?
Chunky lump. Yeah,
Chunky
yeah,
lump. Talking
yeah.
of chunky
Because
lumps, I've got a bit of news actually.
all
I've
right,
I've actually
go on then.
booked an appointment on the phone with my father because I haven't told him yet about my ADHD. I
All
said,
right,
"Oh, Dad." So on the next couple of podcasts, maybe I'll update you. Dad, I've got something to tell you. So he's like the last bastion of my inner circle that I haven't told,
right. And
and I
what
don't
do
know
you
how he'd
think?
take it. He'll either take it really badly or really well.
I will guess. Right. My
Yeah,
guess is, I don't know. My guess is that he'll see it as an excuse, that it doesn't really
totally.
exist, that
Yeah,
it's that he won't understand why you're telling him.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I certainly won't pose the conundrum or the question that, well, 75% of ADHD is actually inherited from their fathers. I'm not going to
oh
mention that.
God.
He'll implode
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
in
No,
a
because
horrible way, I think.
right, because it yeah, because as a parent you'll think w- that they're blaming, that your kid's blaming you for being a
Yeah,
bad parent, and I think your dad
yeah.
will not
Mm.
really be up
So, but
for that.
that's an aspect of that first, well, for me anyway, the first 12 years, 12 months is how do you actually evolve into, and how you evolve how you're telling of, who you tell and how you tell people about ADHD,
Right.
and if you
I
tell
mean,
them.
I
It's a
have to
tricky
I have
one.
to I have to ask, why
Why tell
is
him?
there any answer that he will give? That what are you is are you looking for a change, or what are you looking for out of that interaction?
I don't think I'd, I don't know. There's certain things that, if I don't think I'm expecting anything. I don't think I'm expecting anything. I might chicken out the last minute and said, "Oh," and change it up to a different thing, and not tell him at all. He's 81 and he's very conservative,
Right.
and I think it was scared the heebie-jeebies out of him actually,
I
because he doesn't know. He's a kind of person, especially of that generation. He's scared of what he doesn't know. If you
right.
know what I mean.
I'm
And
I'm yeah,
so
because
it triggers
because
him
it
if he.
sounds like it's not really it isn't really about telling him. It's just I almost feel like it's something that's like because I know that you like to live authentically, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like a little bit of a lie that you're carrying around somehow.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like
Exactly. Yeah.
like
And it's like,
I'm not all out in the open because I haven't told this one
mm,
guy, and I don't really care what he
yeah.
says. I just have to kind of know that I've said it,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter what he says or doesn't say. But the fact that
Doesn't
I've now
change
feel
anything.
like no,
It
no,
doesn't change anything. It would be. I prefer that he knows. It's like he'll do with it what he wants.
yeah, yeah. All right. So, number 5 in the list of things that you should expect after a year: building community and learning from others. So, like
Mm,
building. So we did talk about that. Building support people,
yeah.
people around you. Chances are there's
Connecting.
probably some neurodivergent friends.
Yeah.
That you have
Yeah.
neurodivergent friends. You go, oh, okay, that's why. That's
That's
why.
why. That's why.
Right, and as
Um.
you said, so as you said, community is important.
Yeah. Well, because it's the first tribe I ever felt
Social
a part
media.
of in my life.
Hmm.
I never
Oh, here's
felt
a
part of
bunch of
any
people.
tribe. Mm?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
that's
and
nice.
also
It's nice. I
yeah.
like that.
People do
It's
tend
a
to like
novelty.
seek out social media groups or podcasts. I'm not I'm just saying.
Just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah, so that you can feel validated and that and
Mm,
that you aren't the only one, and there's loads of us, there's millions of us, in fact. um
yeah, millions. But that's the thing is, like, in terms of talking to other when if you're talking to someone who's neurobeige, um, it's one thing. But if you know, or if you somehow instinctively know that you're talking to someone else that is probably on the autistic spectrum, or they have ADHD, whole different conversation. You know, some people, as you know, Martin, some people are really what's the word? They really find it difficult to like talk about these things if they're neurobeige. They find it like confrontational even
mhm.
for some people.
Yes, yes.
Tricky.
um
Right.
and number 6 I've just got down here: progress, setbacks, and more realistic goals. So yeah, so people a year in usually better at setting realistic goals, being kinder to themselves when things don't
Yes.
go perfectly. you know um
Yeah, and we've spoken about if there's one thing that's been with this, what we've recorded over 50 episodes now. There's been this pattern all the way through, and it is so much time, so many times it's come up. It's changing your internal dialogue
mhm.
is massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Coming from
Yes.
a
Yes.
kinder, caring place.
Yeah. That's why I end with my catchy catchphrase from the book
Yeah.
of catchy catchphrases. And after yeah, so like there is setbacks as well, and progress. Like that. That is
Mm,
part of it. You have days, weeks, even months of
yeah.
things being not not great, and then I don't know, things shift a little bit, and then then you have great good periods, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
There isn't this normal. I think that's the thing, isn't it? There isn't a normal place. Like how you can say, well, this is normal, right? This is my
Yeah.
normal energy levels. This is what I normally do, how I normally feel. It is.
Mm,
There isn't that. You don't actually have that. That's like a false version of yourself. Like you might hover near
mm,
normal, but you'll also kind of go, better than normal, worse than normal.
mm,
You're actually much more up and down. It's much more of a flowing thing than just a static
mm.
normal line that you're
Yeah.
trying to hit. But yeah, so I would say that overall, after a year, and I think that you're in this place, which is like it's usually a time for a deeper self awareness. Like what else is going on? Like you start to get more comfortable with being neurodivergent and exploring that, and then you kind of go, well, what else? Let's look into other traumas, into other behaviors that I seem to have. And you're much more kind of open to exploring yourself on a much deeper level.
And just what I want to say, I've written in my one part of my conclusion. Actually, there'll be a lot of stuff that you will be reframing, relearning, and discovering or whatever. It's also quite difficult. Actually, there's also at times things that have absolutely nothing to do with autism or ADHD, and that's something that would be you'll I've come across as well, like trying to shoehorn into something into ADHD or my autism, and actually realizing there's a separate thing,
Mm-hmm.
Trauma from childhood, that actually accentuated and made ADHD worse, but actually it's separate as well. That's also something to unpack as well, I've found.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah. No. Okay. Just
Only
sometimes
because
you're trying
because I kind of zoned out about halfway through, and then so it was my fault because I wasn't
just saying that when you're in the reframing and relearning things, there are actually always things that actually have nothing to do with ADHD or autism.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Life events, third party effects on your development, your growth, personal growth. Actually, some things that can't be shoehorned into it, that's kind of interesting as well to note and understand.
Yeah. No, and no, for sure. Yeah. And I always find I can't spend all my time trying to analyze everything. Like there is only so much time for all of this stuff and
it's exhausting
reflection.
Otherwise. Right.
It is exhausting. Like, sure, have part of your day or your week or something doing all of that internal work, but I mean, go out, do some other stuff, have a walk in the park,
right?
Look at the flowers.
Exactly.
Look at the
muse.
Smell the bees.
We started the podcast from the same week that I got my diagnosis, and so I was like, okay, I just need to not think about ADHD for at least a couple of weeks. I think it was around springtime. It's like, oh, enough.
Enough. All right. With that, let's jump in the car. We're going to jump in the car. We're going to head to the post office. I don't have any post, but we should visit there and say your line, Mr. Thompson. Right, jump in.
Okay, I'll just wait for the
there we go.
And the chauffeur.
And we're in, which means that you get to say.
I was waiting for car noises. Okay. Your feedback is vital to us.
It is.
It is. Your feedback is really, really vital to us. Actually, it makes a big, big difference to us. It's we really appreciate when people take the time to actually give us their feedback. We read all your comments, and sometimes we'll be reading your comments out on future podcasts.
Absolutely. So that just remains it for me to say ADHDville is delivered fresh every Tuesday to all purveyors of fine podcasts. Please subscribe to the pod and rate us most magnificent, and feel free to correspond at will in the comments. But wait, there's more. If you wish to see our beautiful, beautiful faces, then sally forth to the YouTubes and the TikToks. And you can also pick up a quill and email us at adhdville@gmail.com. But in the meantime, be kind to yourself
I beseech you, fellow ADHDers, know thyselves, sons of the hounds. Come hither and get the flesh.
There, says the mayor. That's that.